So I guess my question to you is, did after leaving before Costa Rica, after Costa Rica, did you still have that faith, or were you did you feel somewhat jaded from it from walking away, where there was maybe some hard feelings attached to it, or your life is kind of being uprooted?
Good question. I don't think it was so much that I was hurt by it. I just truly didn't believe it anymore. I severed the spiritual connection completely and turned purely logical and scientific, which did a lot of good, right? And it truly taught me how to think in a very healthy, constructive way. People sometimes think we think in a binary way, right? If I ask what's the square root of 64, people say 8, right? And there's a very clear process that can be used to figure out how to come up with that answer. Oh, am I frozen?
You're good.
Am I
You're good.
here?
Yep, you're here.
Okay. Let me put do not disturb. I think it was a call coming in.
No problem.
There we go. But if you were stranded on an island and I asked you how would you go about creating a shelter, all of a sudden the answer is totally different. The process to come up with that answer is different. So leaving the church put me very in tune with that side of thinking, how to come up with the question, how to process through the answer. And it made it so I wasn't reliant on any guide or any book or any source of schooling to come up with answers for the arbitrary. And that was powerful. But I severed 100% the spiritual connection until ayahuasca. I think that is why I struggled with doing mushrooms or bufo in Bali, was because I was going in purely logical and I didn't have any spiritual semblance to guide me through any processing that was
Yeah.
beyond the logic. And ayahuasca forced that into me, and I could see it and I could feel it. And so coming back, I realized that through the last few months that being in the church was really, really good because I was very in tune with what I called the spirit. I was very in tune. I always have been. I always have been since I was a kid, right? I'd have these thoughts bubble up inside of me, almost like I felt like if it, like when you throw up, you get to the point where you can't hold it in anymore, regardless of how hard you try. It just comes out,
Yeah.
right? Words, thoughts, creative inspiration, right? Literal body movement. I remember one time when I was living in Siberia, I was we were carrying our groceries and I remember hearing a voice very, very clearly that yelled at me to stop. And I was walking and my foot literally stopped in midair. And I just paused there. I could not move. And about 3 seconds later, a train came rushing right in front of me. And if I would have kept walking, I would have got hit. And we were like super oblivious to it. There was like this wall or something. I can't remember exactly. And it was I've had experiences like that all throughout my life, and I tied those directly to the church that I grew up in. And I didn't realize that those energies, those connections have always been a part of me, and I just severed them. When I left the church spiritually, I was really strong in my sovereignty, right? And I created a barrier where no energy could enter to the point where I did not feel any emotion,
Yeah.
no emotion, no joy, no pain, no being in tune to anything. It was just me and my thoughts and my logic. But coming back from ayahuasca, I got connected with that. And I think I got so hungry for it that I allowed those energies to come and house inside of me. And now I feel like I found the balance.
What kind of practices did they want you to take with you after ceremony? Were there certain integration practices that they spoke of after ceremony to help you maintain that balance that you're speaking about?
One, they gave me a candle
Okay.
that I've been burning. It's supposed to be a subtle guidance for the parts of me that need to come back, that need to integrate with me, that I've cast out through various reasons, and a grounding source for me to be able to accept them where they're at and become more discerning of who I am. I have been much more still. I've just in the last 2 days, hours and hours and hours of just sitting on the ground meditating and just listening to my breath and feeling the energy kind of go up and down
Sure.
in sacred silence too. Like before I would meditate, I would do it with music. Now I just sit there and I'm calm. There's no anxiety that comes up saying, "Oh, you're wasting your time. You should do this. You should do that. Check your phone." Right. And that's how it would typically be after a while in meditation. Now it's just this calm.
It's a really
This,
hard thing to do is meditate in silence. And it
mhm,
feels like forever too. I I personally I try like heck to have silence and sit there and just exercise my brain. Your brain is also a muscle in a way. And if you're not exercising it, it becomes weak. And I feel like meditation is kind of like that push-up time for your brain.
mm,
And I know exactly about the anxiety that you're talking about. There's a desire to check the notifications on your phone, whatever they may be. And what's funny about it is that those things will always be there. Take the time for yourself.
mhm.
Easier said
And,
than done.
and I think the difference for me, if I had to try to articulate it, is it used to be work for me, where now it is a place of peace.
Mhm.
Now it's just as calming for me is going to bed at night and cuddling up under my covers, right? That is meditation for me now. And it just wasn't that way. I don't know exactly what changed it, except for I peyote helped me become so grounded with self that being with myself and only myself was the calmest thing. And the idea of anything else took effort. unless unless I was so grounded and my myself moved toward that. Right? It's almost as if I'm like this view on the screen that you're looking at. Like if something's happening outside of the view, right?
Yeah.
I can't. What I've spent so much of my life doing is just trying to reach out there and yeah, yank it in.
Yeah.
You know? And we all spend so much of our life. We're here in the present. We can only see what we can see. And we spend so much of our time in the present, not being in the present, but reaching forward or reaching backwards and trying to yank ourselves backwards or yank something in the future toward us, right? And peyote grounded me in the present fully, completely, like totally, where I don't need the past or the future. I just know they'll come. And I can be in meditation. So the last meditation I did before this call, I sat there for a while just in total calm, knowing that eventually the meditation would be over, but it wasn't due to any time. It wasn't a clock or anything. It was my body eventually just started moving, started stretching, and I went through a yoga flow. It was about 40-minute yoga flow that was my body moving with it took no effort, zero effort. I wasn't sweating. I wasn't thinking. I was just following the meditation of my body. And it was honestly, I had done that a few times in my life, but usually when I do yoga, it's like a workout, you know,
Yeah.
where this was meditation, right? And it was healing. And I was like, ah, that's what yoga is. That's what people, when they talk about yoga, they're talking about that.
Yeah. Not P90X, right?
Mhm. Yeah, or not just like I can throw on yoga and do it, right? But it's like kind of a challenge, the flow. I'm counting the steps, I'm counting the time, I'm counting my breath, right? But when if you're imagine you're in such a deep meditation that like you're not thinking about your breath, you're not thinking about emotions, no thoughts are entering, you're not grabbing onto anything. When you can have that in yoga and your body truly just moves by itself, like man, it's so beautiful.
It definitely is. And I'm forever thankful for the yoga that I had experienced at Rhythmia, because when you search around for yoga, whether it's your local gym or on YouTube, it's just not the same. But I think the other part of that is what we experienced and what you had just recently experienced and what you are talking about is being grounded and being in that energy wavelength that makes it so peaceful, gives you that
Hmm.
peace.
Yeah, it's almost like if I'm just sitting here and I trust myself, what I used to do is I used to try to reach into the future and pull myself forward, right? And it took effort, right? Or I try to pull something into me, but now I can just sit here. And this is a practice, right? I'm not perfect at it, but I've experienced this now where I can just sit here and I feel like something from the future just throws a lasso at my heart and says, "Ooh, okay, time to go," right? And it moves me like literally,
Yeah.
and I experienced that in Costa Rica when I had that exorcism moment, and I was just thrashing around. I was like out, I could not control my body. And it's kind of like that now. And it's just crazy, but it's cool. And now that I'm experiencing that in life, it's like a game for me. My life is fun for me now
Yeah.
because I don't know what's going to happen, but I
Yeah.
know my body's going to move and I don't have to think about the future at all because something, when it's time, just gets thrown at me and pulls me there when it's time. It's like that's pretty cool.
That's the power of being present, of what we talked about, is your body is doing the movements, but you're grounded and you're in place and you're watching everything in front of you and you're appreciating every second.
Mhm. And now I can discern whether that lasso is, I get to choose. Am I
Yeah.
moving or not? Right. Where I did go through a while, about a week, where I would just anything that came, any energy that came and yanked at me, I was like, oh, I guess I'm going. Oh, I guess I'm going here. Oh, I guess I'm going here. Where I'm learning to discern when that comes, whether to let it take me or not.
Yeah.
And that's my practice.
What's next?
I
Do
don't know.
you just gonna just take this all in for now, allow yourself to process it, integrate,
Mhm.
and do you see yourself doing any more plant medicines going forward? I know it might be too early to tell. You're literally 2 days off of this experience, but
I think
just
so. I
yeah,
think so. I definitely see the tools in them. I'll probably go down to Rhythmia again this fall with my brother and maybe a friend. I when I was in Washington, I don't do like marijuana hardly ever, but
yeah,
when I was in Washington, we got two vape pens. One was sativa and one was indica. And for my brother, he's always just like, yeah, indica makes you sleepy, and uh, sativa makes it so that you can work faster or whatever, right? I'm like, I don't think that's the intention of the medicine, right? And so I took both with intention on 2 different days, and I realized that for me, indica puts me in touch with my feelings and allows me to get into process mode for my feelings or my movements, very in tune. And if I fight it, that's when I get sleepy. That's when I get chill, right? But there's a side effect either way where I get this fog on my head.
hmm
And it's frustrating because I know I'm not going to remember all of my thoughts, right? And if the more in tune, the higher my intention with it, the less the fog is, but it's still there, right? Where sativa, it my brother was using it, that's his kind of drug of choice, right?
sure,
Although he's really calmed down on it. But he's like, when I need to get a lot done, or it's kind of like my Adderall, right? But it
yeah,
also brings in a strong ego associated with it. There's a lot more fishing. There's a lot more trying to direct people to your way of thinking, to your answer, and you have to be consciously aware of that. But if you don't fight it and you go in with true intention and you slow down, sativa can help you think creatively and clearly in a safe, calm spot. And so I had my brother do breath work while he was on sativa, and the insights he had weren't things on his head that he wanted to get done faster or more creatively. It was a place of stillness, and he allowed thoughts to come in about himself on a logical level that was like, wow, I don't take time for myself ever. Right? Like that's the power of that type of medicine. And I realized when I did them that I don't need the medicine most of the time. Like because if I am truly grounded and I allow the energy to come at the right time and I invite it in, it's almost like I am on sativa and indica merged together without any of the side effects. It's much more pure for me.
Yeah.
So it's not that I won't ever use marijuana again. It's just if I drift, I'll need it to anchor me back in.
Sure.
But I want to practice not needing it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Right. Right. I think that's important. What advice would you give to anybody that's curious about peyote just from what you experienced? Speak to our arrhythmia brothers and sisters, and then maybe to the average person that hasn't tried any kind of plant medicine before.
I think all plant medicine, just in my experience, is to go in with intention to merge with the medicine, become a teammate and almost a follower of the medicine, rather than trying to lead the medicine with it with your intention or with your desires, because it's so easy to let your wants or your assumptions override the true nature of the medicine. You experience this with ayahuasca. It's very hard. Ayahuasca is so powerful because it overrides you if you try to control it. It forces you to listen. Marijuana, mushrooms can do that, but peyote will not do that. Peyote will only guide if you follow, and you have to be very willing to just totally let go. Because if you override it, you'll override it and it won't work.
So they instructed you to sit around a fire for 10 hours, huh? On the ground, like a
Mm-hmm.
pillow or something to sit on or what?
Yeah, there was like a small pillow, and then they had a meditation like ground chair that gave you back support.
Were you inside a canopy at any time or was it all outside?
It was inside of a teepee.
TP, my bad,
The
not
fire
canopy,
was in the
TP.
teepee, and then the
Okay.
the smoke was going out the top where the hole is.
Was it just like Rhythmia where you waited hour and music starts, then it's quiet for a little bit, music starts, is it on and off?
You're not really out of yourself ever. It's not like DMT or psychedelics where you see anything. That's what was confusing for me. I was like waiting for myself to start having a visual or going somewhere else or feeling like I was drifting, right? Like that never ever happened. I was fully present the whole time, very much in connection with my thoughts, but it's very conversational. So you literally just sit there, listen to some music. Someone has a thought, they raise their hand, they share it, and it prompts insights on you. And it's this group sharing that does this healing.
Okay. Very cool.
Hmm.
And that's a 1 day event for
Hmm.
roughly about 10 hours.
Hmm.
Do you feel side effects when you go home at night where you're in bed? Do you still feel that medicine in you at that point, or are you kind of dry by the time that you get home and disconnect yourself from that setting?
Well, you never feel high on peyote. So
Okay.
there is like a struggle
Just
to
more
it's
so insights you're saying.
just very grounding, really.
Very
Like
grounding. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
imagine like intense marijuana with no zero side effects or dilation to your eyes or itchiness or any of that. It's very calm medicine, but the grounding effect of it is it's kind of like weed where it chills you down, but without any of the tiredness.
Right.
Just this powerful grounding that like connects you to self and connects you to the earth,
Yeah.
which sounds irrelevant. Like I would have thought like who needs that? But I needed it.
I think everybody needs it, to be perfectly honest. I think being grounded is incredibly important. if you're able to induce self-awareness more upon yourself, it makes your interactions with others so much easier, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And the quickest way that you can get there is being grounded, being one with yourself, being merged, understanding understanding the ebbs and flows of the energy that's coming in and leaving.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. It's a great way to say it.
Yeah.